I'm so pleased to be introducing our next speaker. Off and on over the last decade and a half, I've been a staffer for 3 council members. And I've been working for 5 years for a Brooklyn councilwoman. And while I was proud of all the progress she made for her district, she could not be considered a progressive. That was largely the communities of color, and she did wonderful things for them, but fell short of my definition of progressive. By and large, the council then wasn't very progressive. So I was searching for a hero. Then in 2010, the smiling, dreadlocked Brooklyn council member joined the body. Right away, he began challenging the status quo, identifying necessary city charter changes or vital legislation that needed to be introduced. He got to work immediately, changing the budgetary process and crafting criminal justice legislation like the Community Safety Act, stop and frisk bills, and worked hard to reshape the way the council functions. He began working with a few of his colleagues to form the Progressive Caucus, and he's going to tell you a bit about that in his address. Long before Colin Kaepernick took a knee, Jumaane Williams took a seat during the recital of the Pledge of Allegiance. And then last year, he became one of only 2 city council members to join us in Philadelphia as a delegate for Bernie Sanders. So now let me be a bit premature in introducing you to the next speaker of the City Council, Jumaane Williams.
Thank you, sir. I don't know who you're talking about. That dude sound dope, man. What's up, NYPAN? How you doing? Today is fantastic. I'm very excited to be here with all my colleagues. I know some have left, but of course we're going to hear from the magnificent Mayor Stephanie Minor. I know Terry Gibson was here, Mike Janaris, Tom DeNapoli, and of course Senator Christine Pellegrino. Did I say that right? I thought right. All right. Say it again? Like the water, Pellegrino, and of course Brian Kavanaugh. So first, I just want to say thank you. Last time I was here, we were in the city for the last one, right? And I said that we need to get a little bit more melanin in the crowd, and it looks like we did that. So I just want to say congratulations for that. So as was mentioned, my name is Jumaane Williams. I am one of the founding members. Also, I have Tourette's syndrome. For those who don't know me, so you may see me move or twitch, everything's okay. All right. I know I look a little different. I took a little bit of a haircut. It's okay. It's a little bit off the top. Everything's fine. So I'm a founding member of the Progressive Caucus, even in a body like the City Council. It's unfortunate that we need a Progressive Caucus, but we do. People don't move unless we make them move, and Frederick Douglass said as such, and we continue today. The path toward progress stretches endlessly before us, and what matters is that we continue ever forward along it. So New York State, and New York City should stand as a beacon model for progressive values and progressive policies. But we're oftentimes held back. We're held back by leaders, many of whom are too hesitant to pursue bold agendas, held back by a tendency to revert to the status quo. In other words, our leaders are afraid. And I've found too often, and I try to keep myself in the bunch of elected officials, but too often we are doing what is best for us, not as what's best for the people. And so for a title or something as such, we will sell out the entire state, the entire city, our entire district, And it's very unfortunate. And my hope is that people in this room will change that dynamic. Of course, in New York State, we have a governor who pretends that he's a Democrat, who pretends that he's progressive. That makes it even more unfortunate. He aligns himself with wannabe Democrats like the IDC. What really pissed me off and when I really got upset is when he claimed he passed a progressive budget. And I was like, why don't you just say it's a budget that has some good things in it? But why would you say that it's a progressive government budget? That was I'm happy that there are a few people speaking to you today that are going to try their best to finish off what our friend tried to finish last year and got really close. And my hope is that somebody will rise up and finish him off and make sure that he's no longer governor of the state and definitely not president of the United States of America. He is not the answer to the orange man. He is not the answer to the orange man. And there was a recent editorial that described what happened after Zephyr Teachout taught him a lesson. He started moving a little bit left. And that to me shows that he's not a progressive. He's not going to do anything that he's not forced to do, and sometimes that needs to happen. But one of the differences I see between him and the mayor, because they both play political machinations, at least I believe in the mayor's heart, he believes in progressive ideals. I believe this governor only believes and does what's best for him, and that's why he takes his lead, and that's very unfortunate. But hopefully, we'll make sure that he learns a lesson very, very soon. And so we have to keep him accountable, and we have to keep our allies accountable. So if we keep, I always applaud the mayor when he's doing right, and I did endorse him. But we have to make sure we continue to push him as well. There are issues, especially around affordable housing, especially when it comes to policing. There are few things that we have to continue to push on. And do not, all of us actually in the last election, the vast majority of us who got propelled into leadership positions was on policing issues. And so there should be no hesitation when we're moving forward in this. There should be no reason that we're not, we've done some good job in police reform, but when it comes to accountability and transparency, accountability we've done nothing, and transparency we've gone backwards. When it comes to 50A and making sure that we can understand what happened to police officers after they've been in trouble. That's unfortunate. When it comes to affordable housing, again, we've done some good things, but not for the people who need it the most and at the bottom, and we have some tools that we're missing. So just make sure we keep our friends and allies accountable as well. So as an experienced organizer, I'm trained to celebrate the small victories along the way. And yes, people who are pushed to do things they otherwise wouldn't do should be rewarded. That is part of the game, but it should be in context. As I mentioned, we should acknowledge the difference between someone who has conviction to fight at all costs for progressive values and someone who wears whatever cloak is politically expedient, i.e. Governor Cuomo. These false proclamations should make us question what the word progressive even means today. I am no longer sure exactly what it means. Are we allowing mediocrity in the name of the people for self-gain than public service? Our so-called leaders instead stand still, who serve us, New York State's motto is Excelsior. We climb ever upward, more ever forward, or we should. But there are so-called leaders who instead stand still, who serve as a roadblock to these advancements, and in these cases we must act as the driving force that pushes forward these reluctant leaders, creating progress through our actions and our voices. And sometimes, if necessary, move them out of our way. We must, all of us, be leaders, leading the pathway toward the future we know we can have if we are willing to fight for it. That takes a lot of courage. And so one of the favorite tweets I've ever seen was right after the November election. Someone tweeted out, I thought that dude Jumaane Williams was going to be in trouble for supporting Bernie Sanders, but looked like dude's going to be okay. And then recently, I saw a lot of my colleagues taking pictures with Bernie Sanders, holding him up as a great person, which is all fine and good. I recently remarked, I just don't know where they were when it counted. And I had colleagues actually tell me that they would have supported him, but they couldn't because of this reason, this person not to. It is very frustrating, because the two things that have been the most surprising to me in this political game is how quickly people sell out and how cheaply they sell out. It's not even a lot. And so I'm often just so shocked when I see that. But to be progressive mandates that we progress. Progress demands that we have the strength to step forward and lead. We cannot typically remain in the background. Progress demands those who have the courage to lead come out and lead. Being a progressive, if we are keeping to what we think it means, because again, I'm not 100% sure, because Cuomo says he's progressive. But it's easy to stand for what is, to support the status quo. It is difficult to push hard, but we have to push hard. And as I try to remind people, the best way to bring reluctant people to the progressive cause is to show them results. We are correct. We are right on the issues, all of the issues. We let our message get clouded for some reason. If we break down each of these issues, we will be right. We will convince people that we are right. Progressive voices have identified and fought against the greatest and most egregious wrongs in our societies. Anything that we celebrate in this country was progressive to push it forward, whether it was civil rights, whether it was unionizing, whether it was a New Deal, whether it was LGBT issues, whether it was children not working. All of these issues came from progressive people forward, and there were always people saying, not now, we have to wait, we can't push. And we pushed. Elected officials and the progressive grassroots activists can supplement each other. Elected officials should be harnessing the energy of grassroots. Grassroots should be pushing politicians. I'm an elected official, not a politician, to do what's right, but you need to push politicians and elected officials. And if you do that, if you take that courage, you may actually be an assembly member, having been a teacher, flipping a Republican district in Long Island in the 9th district. Most people actually, I think, are progressives by nature. This is another speech, but I think hate and bigotry tends to send them another way. That's another speech. They listen to the self-interested lies of the right, designed to mislead them, to create a progressive boogeyman. They do this to preserve power for themselves and for their wealthy donors. Progressive is a label I wear as a badge of honor, but is one which is abused and misused by some, like our governor, who hide behind the word but don't stand strongly for the movement. They actually don't stand strongly for anything except themselves. It's okay to have diversity of opinion in the progressive movement, diversity of background, thought, and voice make us stronger. Those voices come together at wonderful events like this. We hear each other, diversity in the progressive caucus. It takes special courage to stand up to those who agree with you and push them more, a courage that those on the right just do not have. Amid our diverse opinions, we are all united within our progressive philosophy. The idea that we can do better, that our best moments lay ahead, we need only have the courage to reach them, and in that unity we have strength to pursue our progressive vision for New York. Right now, my city is in the shadow of Trump Tower, our nation is in the shadow of Trump, but we cannot cower in that shadow. The only way out of the time of Trump is to move forward to progress. Trump is a fucking asshole. There is really no other words to describe it. That is the correct adjective and the correct noun. If you look up both those words, you will see that it's correct. He is a fucking asshole. There is no way around it. He is a moron, a buffoon. He is president of the United States of America. It is incredible what he says. He actually called football players sons of bitches, and he called Nazis part of a different size, or whatever the damn thing he says. He was throwing paper towels, and like, it's crazy. He thinks he was speaking to the president of the Virgin Islands, when there is no president of the Virgin Islands. He's the president of the Virgin Islands. It's insane. And by the way, there were a lot of people who said, some people we know, let's give him time, he's the president, just wait. I am very proud that on noon on Inauguration Day, I and some of my colleagues and some local leaders were getting arrested in front of Trump Towers in the order of civil disobedience. We said resist from day one, and we have to continue to resist. This is a time when the unity of progressives in elected office and in the streets need not only defend what we've accomplished, what we've fought for over decades, but to expand our influence. We have an opportunity now to show what progressive policies and progressive leaders can do on all levels of government and in all areas of our lives. I can think of no better way to upset Donald Trump than to use his hate, his incompetence, and his disastrous agenda than to harness our resistance to him and to turn into local, state, and national progressive action like we haven't seen in decades. Well, that, or kneeling down for a football game. You know, I have this pin. It says 1/20/21. Anybody know what that is? That is an important day to me. I think it probably is to all of us. But between now and then, we have more important days. In November 2017, in June, in September, in November 18, we have election days, and we have primary days, and we have every day in between as a day to move forward on our progressive path. We need to really claim and define what progressive is, and don't be afraid of it. As I said, if we break down the issues, we are correct. It will grab everyone. It will grab the historically disenfranchised, Black, Latino, LGBTQ, Native Americans. It will grab the poor whites who also are struggling. We have to grab all those people, and we have the way to do it if we are no longer afraid. I want to thank you all again for having me be here today. I look forward to standing alongside you as we continue our march with energy, purpose, conviction, and together in strength. And I'm going to end by saying, it's time. You say, let's go. It's time.
Let's go.
It's time.
Let's go.
It's time.
Let's go.
Peace, everybody. Thank you very much.